go. Hey, everybody. And this is episode 132 of the Self-Publishing Roundtable. I am your host, Wade Finnegan, and I am joined tonight by the one and only Erica Conroy.
Hi.
And sporting the very nice beard, you should be watching live, on the site because it is really growing in nice. Xavier Granville.
Yellow internets, look at my beard.
Look at my beard.
My beard is amazing.
Our special guest for this evening is no stranger to this show. In fact, she used to host. But you might also know her as one of the best romance authors around, and fellow Northwesterner, Trish McCallan. Hi, Trish.
Hello, and I just want to state for the record that you guys did not give me milk, so no, I do not got milk.
Sorry. Yeah.
Now I'm disappointed. I feel like we're starting off on the wrong foot.
Next time I'll make sure you get milk.
What is this, like Christmas? Are you expecting cookies too? Is there a Santa Claus involved with this?
Well, I'm wondering why it says Self-Publishing Roundtable and then under that got milk. Is there some kind of a joke to that?
I wish there was like a really good story. No, I just was feeling bored.
Okay.
I was tired of the typical follow me on Twitter or here's our website, so I just got milk. So
there's milk at the table. That's what he's saying.
Nice. Okay. Now that that's all cleared up.
Yes, now that we got that straight, so that's good. So we brought Trish on tonight because, she's in the know, and she just got back from a great trip in Hawaii at a romance authors conference there, and of course we're all jealous. And so we thought we'd pick her brain a little bit about what went on there. Also, just, anything that she sees as the newest trends coming up in our industry. She definitely keeps her ear to the ground and knows a lot of stuff. So, Trish, again, thanks for coming on, and we're sorry you're a little bit under the weather, but glad that you can make it back and talk to us. So, appreciate it.
I'm sure this is going to make me feel a lot better just being on, right? The cold will probably just get blown away from this podcast.
Yeah, you'll just scream it out.
By the power of Xavier's fluffy beard.
Yeah.
There we go. It's got magical powers.
Mm-hmm.
So let's warm up the air and talk a little bit about Hawaii. So you just got back from I can't remember the actual title of the conference, Romance Authors Retreat or something like that?
Retreat. It was the Romance Authors Hawaiian conference, basically.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was by invite only. They basically only picked about 200. I believe it was 200 romance authors to come, because what they were really looking for is authors that were selling well enough that they were really using like Facebook and Google and spending a lot of money on promotions. So a lot of the conference was geared really heavy towards ads like Facebook and Google and Twitter, and they got like some of the brightest people in Google ads and Facebook ads, and had advanced workshops on all of that kind of stuff, which honestly was way above my head. A lot of the ad stuff I knew what they were talking about just because I played around with Facebook ads a little bit, but they were so far over my head that it was almost useless to even take notes. So most of this conference was really geared towards networking and learning how to do effective advertisement campaigns.
Wow. Okay. So you say above your head just because of the technical type terms?
Yeah, it's so technical that I just didn't really understand what they're talking about. It amazes me, honestly, how many of the authors there are sinking into Facebook and Twitter and stuff. I mean, we're talking about maybe $10,000 to $50,000 a month they're putting in on advertisements. And the other thing that really amazed me about this conference is that I was on a low rung when it comes to income-wise. I would say that at least 50% of the people that were there were making over $50,000 a month.
I want to be one of them. Tell me how.
And quite a few of them were making over $100,000 a month. These people are bringing in amazing money. So I'm surprised I even got invited, quite honestly, when I was talking to some of the other people and the amount of money they're making. So it really inspired me to want to put a lot more books up, because what they all have in common is they've got a lot more books up than I have. They've been working a lot harder at it than I have. I mean, I'm basically making my money on 2 books and 2 novellas, and most of these guys have, you know, at least a dozen books up.
Okay. So more things to buy, but then also, I mean, that number you threw out for the amount of money they're spending advertising, that just kind of blew me away. And most people, even we have on here that are accomplished authors, haven't ever talked about that type of cash for advertising. That seems like a, you know, like a.
I would say that a lot of them, that it's just average to do over $10,000 to $20,000 a month on advertisement. But when they're bringing in, you know, $60,000, $50,000 to $60,000 a month, it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
One thing I did hear across the board is that as that income is way down. I mean, basically, since KU started, the income for almost everyone has just really dropped. And that was one thing that everybody was talking about there, is basically to try to figure out how to get sales rolling again.
But they were still earning $50,000 a month, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about people that were earning maybe $70,000 a month, and it's dropped down to 50. And a lot of the people that were earning 50 that have dropped down to 20. You know, so a lot of people have seen maybe a 50% reduction in their income, but they're still making really good money.
Right. So beggars can't be too much of a choosers, in a sense.
Well, I think we're just looking at a glut on the. I mean, we're looking at a big time glut on our, you know, across the board. Romance is glutted so much right now that there's only a certain amount of readers, and they have such a supply of books to choose from that I think everybody's starting to feel the effects of that.
I thought I'd never hear any romance authors, you know, admit to that.
Yeah, I think that everybody's admitting to that. So right now, people are just kind of pivoting. They're trying to figure out ways to be more effective with their advertising, to find different ways of advertising. Facebook isn't nearly as effective as it used to be. Twitter actually sounds, in some cases, like especially with iTunes, that it's more effective on Twitter to advertise on Twitter than Facebook. Heard that from several people there, that when it comes to iTunes, they had much more effectiveness through their Twitter campaigns.
Was there a lot of talk about advertising over different platforms as well? Was it like, were the people like, okay, if you're doing well on Kobo, you need to advertise here, that sort of thing?
A little bit, but basically most of it is advertising on you know, the same platform, but towards all the distributors, different ads aimed at all the distributors. Now that's one thing that iBooks said over and over again when they had a workshop or a panel or like one-on-one sessions, is that you're not very likely to get any love from iBooks if you're advertising iBooks distributors, your books on iBooks, at the same time that you're advertising your books on, say, Amazon or Kobo or Nook. They want the advertisement that's geared towards your books on iTunes to be separate. And the Nook people said the same things. The you know, Kobo said the same thing, because basically what seems to happen is if somebody does an advertisement on, say, Facebook, and they put a link up, whatever the first link they put up is the one that most people will click on, and most people will put that link up for Amazon because that's where their biggest fan base is. So then all the other links are hidden. And iBooks basically said, if you want us to promote your books, then you need to help us and promote your books on our store. So they basically said over and over again that if you want love from iTunes, then you need to have like iTunes badges on your website. You need to have iTunes badges where your books are, where your books are on the book page. You need to have links to iTunes on your book page. They want to see, and they go to people's websites before they offer them promotion. They want to see that you're committed to iTunes before they'll ever take out, help you out by giving you promotions.
Oh, so they want love in return if you want love from iTunes.
Right. Well, they basically want to see an author that's already committed to iTunes and committed to promoting their books on iTunes. Because they said what happens is they'll get somebody saying, hey, I've got this book. Could you, include it in your next email blast? And they'll go to the author's website, and all they're promoting is their books on Amazon. And then they're like, why should we help promote you when you're not helping promote us? If you want to actually do really well on iTunes, they said you really need to take out an iTunes affiliate link too. iTunes has an affiliate link like Amazon does. They look for that as well. So you got to bet that when you ask for any kind of a promotion at any of these distributors, they're going to be checking your website out to see, whether you've got them up, whether you're promoting them with your books.
So my blog article saying screw Apple, like that's bad?
That's probably really bad.
Okay. Pro tip, folks, if you want to get into iTunes, don't go bashing their parent company.
And then I will also give another little tip of advice. I'm not going to say who this was because, I don't think we need to get into that. But there's a pretty high-profile author that was invited into Kindle Unlimited when it first came out, and then did it, and then pulled and badmouthed Amazon after they pulled out of it. And basically, she has not been getting any Amazon love since she did that. So you want to be careful what you say anywhere, social media, because you don't want to assume that it's not going to get back to them.
But as the internet, I mean, just type it into Google. Does X also hate Amazon? There we go.
Yeah, and I mean, we're talking about someone that used to sell really, really well on Amazon and is not selling at all, hardly at all. So you want to be really careful about what you say in public, because it can come back to bite you.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
As it should.
Yeah.
Now, most of these authors, obviously by invite only, into this conference and having all these other things there, so I guess I would assume that all of them are wide. Was there anybody that was actually?
No, actually, it's a mix. There's quite a few people that are just in Kindle Select. There's a lot of people that are wide. So it was more people in Kindle Select than I would have expected. And they're doing really, really well in Kindle Select. I heard a lot of people that pulled all their books out of Kindle Select and went wide, and they couldn't get any momentum on the other platforms. And after like 3 months, they gave up and they went back to Kindle Select. Now, I've also heard from almost everyone there that it takes a good year before you can actually start building momentum on the other sites, and you have to have a strategic way of doing it, that you can't just assume that if you put your books up that it's going to get you momentum over there. You have to really do it strategically.
Well, that's just it. Like it seems the same way with what we've just kind of talked about with iTunes. A lot of people have said they've had more success with Kobo. If you talk with Mark Lefebvre or maybe one of the other people who work there, maybe if you show some Kobo love, you might get some Kobo love in return.
Right. Right.
Sounds dirty.
Oh, it is, because it is. And don't think it's not. You have to cozy up to these guys, and then they'll give you a tip. Yeah, that grinds my gears. No, it makes sense, right? Like you should be approaching these people anyways if you want to actually take their market seriously. These are smaller independent markets, so they probably do work off of an individual basis.
Yeah, well, I think that they're just very careful on where they put their promotional opportunities because they don't have a lot of them, so they want to give them to people that they think it's actually going to be most effective, and the ones that are going to be the most effective are the ones that are already promoting their books on those platforms.
Yeah,
so was there anything at the conference that could have kind of took you by surprise, something you didn't expect to be there?
Hey, hold on a second. The biggest thing actually that took everybody by surprise was that they had a Walmart guy come in at the very last minute. He wasn't actually on the roster to begin with, but he came in a little bit later. Everybody kind of assumed that he was going to be talking about getting print in to the Walmart stores.
Mm-hmm.
But what he was actually there to talk about is that Walmart is in the process of starting a digital platform themselves. They're going to start selling ebooks through Walmart.com.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I kind of had a little laugh. I had to mute myself. That's interesting.
Yeah. How they're going to do this right now is kind of up in the air. It changed a little bit even when we were there because they started with the assumption they were going to be distributing the ebooks through one distributor, and then after everybody kind of gave their opinion, they switched. So right now it's looking like they're planning on distributing them through iTunes, but there's a good chance that will end up changing down the road. To begin with, this is going to only be available to the authors that were at the Hawaiian conference because they're going to use us like guinea pigs. But eventually it will be available to all self-published authors.
Walmart treating people like guinea pigs. That's unheard of.
I think it's pretty much what every single one of them does. I mean, Amazon does the same thing with anything they roll out. They've got people that have tested it before. So my understanding is they're going to be revamping their entire website, and we'll see, because that was probably one of the biggest feedback they got was the distributor and their website, because their website's just not that easy to find stuff on. So now on the plus side, the guy that was there was very, very willing to listen to feedback and very willing to pivot and change according to feedback. And he was getting a lot of feedback. So how this ends up playing out, I don't really know, but that was probably the biggest thing that came out of the conference.
It does, like you said, it is interesting that he was so willing to take the feedback and to make changes, but it also shows that maybe they're not that far along in their planning yet.
I don't know.
They're still able to do changes.
On opening it in March of this year. We're talking about a month away. But it sounded like originally that they were planning on kind of starting with print books and then moving into digital a little bit further down the road. And I don't quite know what the plan is on that because I think it's changing.
That makes more sense. I could see, but yeah, if they did do something about their websites, then it probably would work as a decent way to shop for books, but at least in paperback. But like you were saying, their website is nowhere near that kind of capability to be able to, or searchability to be able to hone in on things, especially if you're going to be having as big of a catalog as like Amazon does once you bring in the digital editions.
Right. No, I think that is the big holdup. Really, is they need a better search engine. One of the things that kept coming up is the fact that almost everybody's paperback is available on Walmart already, but they don't link to the author. They don't link to other books in the series. It's basically just that one paperback with link to nothing. So, I mean, he was basically listening to everybody's concerns and planning on, talking to superiors and everything when he got back to his job the next week.
At Walmart land.
I don't know, but they are very interested in giving it a try because really, if you think at it from a business perspective, Walmart's probably the only one that really would have the ability to compete with Amazon, because Walmart sells everything, just like Amazon does. If you go to iTunes, you're looking at digital stuff. You're looking at books or music. With Amazon, you can go and buy a book and then turn right around and buy a treadmill, and it would be possible for Walmart to put the same kind of a thing in play. So they could be using books to come into their store and then buy other stuff just like Amazon does.
Yeah, I never actually considered it that way. If you think of how like Amazon almost has the monopoly on internet shopping, and then Walmart, at least in America, has the monopoly mostly on firsthand in-person shopping. It makes sense given that Amazon's now considering opening retail stores, that Walmart is starting to consider going into the digital.
Yeah, well, I think Walmart is seeing an opportunity there to use ebooks the same way that Amazon is using them, to basically get people into their store while they'll buy other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's real. I would heard it here, right? That's newsworthy for sure.
That's good capitalism for you, folks.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Good capitalism for you. Oh, my damn phone went off. So looking at your marketing efforts now, Trish, what do you think you might change coming up for this year, looking at 2015 and then going to this conference, and what you might do personally this year?
Well, I actually went to iTunes with two things in mind. Number one is I wanted to talk to the different reps. I wanted to talk to the different distributors and try to get personal relations, try to get some contact numbers, because I have moved my little novellas out from Kindle Select and I put them wide. Sales have been absolutely dismal. I think in 2 months I've sold maybe 9 on iTunes and 9 on Nook, and like maybe 7 or something on Kobo. But I haven't been trying to sell them either. I've just put them up and I just left them there. So my whole goal for this year is to try to build some momentum on the different distributors. I'm going to be putting out another novella in April, which will go wide, and then I'm doing a novella and a full-length book this summer that will be going wide. And I was invited into a continuity series, which I agreed to specifically because the people that are running this continuity series have contacted iTunes and Kobo and Nook, and they've gotten some promotions in place. So every book that comes out in this series will be promoted through iTunes, through email blast, will be promoted through Nook, will be promoted through Kobo, and I'm hoping that my sales on the other distributors will peak after that. So my whole point of actually going to this conference was to, number one, talk to the different distributors, to the reps there, let them know what I'm planning, and see about getting on their radar. And number two was to approach authors that are writing in my subgenre, military romantic suspense, and pitch them an idea that I've had, that we would basically be working in a shared world, but it would be much more involved than most of these continuity series are. And I just was wondering whether these authors would actually be interested, considering how big their fan bases are. And interestingly enough, every single one of them said yes. Every single one of them wants in on it, so it looks like it's going to actually happen. So those were my main reasons of going there. I am going to do ads. I'm going to be taking Mark Dawson's Facebook thing, and I've got some friends that are really doing incredible things with Facebook and Twitter, and I'm going to approach them about helping me with some of that stuff as well. But I'm not going to actually focus on ads, because I think with ads a lot of times you end up with spikes, but they don't always build your reader base. I think you're better off if you can get actual promotion from these other places. And I'm not going to throw a lot of money at ads until I know how to actually work them. Because the people that are doing really well with ads, they know how to target. And I'm not at that point where I know how to target.
I think that's the plan most people have when it comes to the Facebook ads. Start off with a $5 budget for the day, see what works, and then just throw more money at it when they've got something that seems to target the right people. And a lot of people seem to use it to target readers from the other platforms like Nook and iTunes and stuff like that. So,
yeah, well, that was one of the things that came out in the Facebook and the Google workshops, was how to actually target the other platforms. I mean, what you want to target, like you basically want to target the operating system for iTunes. You know, you want to target the iOS system, and so they did go into quite a bit of that. I took a lot of notes, but basically, I'm the kind of person that needs to have something that I can follow. I need like a workshop where I can follow as they go along, and Mark Dawson, I think, does a really good job of doing that. So I've got his course. I just haven't had a chance to really go through it yet.
Well, you can listen in on Chris Fox writing a book and editing it and publishing it within 21 days or something like that. I think he's on day 3 or 4 now.
Of writing a book in what?
In 21 days, and then getting it to market. Writing it, editing it, getting it to market within 21 days.
Yeah,
so you mean
I don't have any intention of ever writing a book that fast.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Like he has 3 books, so it's not really a course, but at least I'm the same way. I find that you have to have those steps laid out in front of you that you can actually carry along with, in order to actually feel like you're getting something out of it. So it's at least interesting to that also he's broadcasting at least clips of it live on YouTube and stuff like that, so you can see at least he is owning up to writing those words. So at least his method works for him. So yeah, but I'm the same way. I always need to have the ability to carry along with it, rather than just being told what to do and then go do it.
See, the thing with writing fast like that is I know how to do it. I mean, I know exactly how to write fast like that. What I found for myself is when I write fast like that, the quality suffers so much that I'm better off taking my time and getting the depth and getting the characterization, getting the dialogue the way I want it, so that when I publish it, people are going to want to buy it. And I'm not a very good fast writer, so I'm not going to even try something like that.
No, but yeah, and that's just it. But at least it's one of those things where at least he has the exercises to back it up that you can follow along to. But no, it's I don't think it should be for anyone that hasn't at least read those 3 books and tried it over and over again.
Yeah, no, I got a system in place that works really well for me, and I can actually write a book quite fast when I do it. The problem is I'm lazy. And it's a lot to say, well, instead of writing 6 hours today, I'm going to write 2,
Yeah, it's just putting the time in, right? Making yourself do it.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's like I get up early because of the dogs. By the time that the writing comes around, I'm always wanting a nap because I haven't slept very good the night before. So I end up taking a nap and losing an hour right there, because instead of writing, I go to back to bed for a while.
At least you get 2 hours done. I mean, you're not doing nothing. I mean, a lot of us are doing nothing. Come on.
Well, no, but I have a lot of days where I do nothing too. That's why I've only written, 1 book last year. So the funny thing is I wrote that 1 book in 2 months, 2.5 months, but 2 months for 120,000 words. But there were weeks where I didn't do anything at all. So that's what I'm trying to correct, is so I get in a daily writing habit of writing every day.
Earlier, before we started the show, during the pre-show, you were talking about the Pomodoro method, and specifically a certain Pomodoro app that's helping you at least getting into shape writing-wise, like you were saying. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's actually it's considered a challenge timer app, so it's supposed to basically challenge you to write more, and you set your own limits. you set how long you want to write your writing stance, and then you set how long you want to break in between. I do 60 minutes because I've found that if I write for like more than 60 minutes at a time, my joints all freeze up. I hurt my knees here about 4 or 5 months ago, and I've got some knee problem and ankle problem now from that. So if I write too long, everything freezes up. So about every 60 minutes, I'll stop and take a break and stretch and go do something active for about 10 minutes. So this lets you basically set whatever you want for how long you want to write, how long your breaks are, and then it tracks actually how much you're writing every single day. It tracks your peak hours for when you write the best. And it tracks how many hours you're working, you've worked on each book. Like I did the Pomodoro for my revisions on smoke, and it's the first time I've ever really been able to track how many hours went into revisions. So it's a kind of a handy app in that it keeps you writing, because it's kind of got nasty little names it calls you if you slip off track, like you start at certain levels. Everybody starts as an unrepentant slacker, and then if you slip backwards, if you go up levels, so you start like an unrepentant slacker, and then an obedient slacker, and you go up all these levels. And if you don't write the same amount of hours, then the next day you actually go down levels. And it yells at you, and it screams at you, and it calls you names, and it's just kind of funny, and it's fun. And I've been getting more words written on this thing just because it amuses me.
Whatever works, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the funny thing is, a friend of mine turned me on to it because he was finding it really helpful. And then I turned it on to some friends, and they're finding it really helpful. So, it actually does seem to work. It's kind of along the same rules as Write or Die, except this thing is much more exuberant. So you ought to check it out. It's free for Samsung devices, so I've got it on my tablet.
Now, are you under contract at all anymore, Trish, or are you just all on your own?
I'm still with Montlake. I'm doing 50%. Basically, I'm doing the Forge stuff for Montlake, and I'm considering whether I'm going to do a spin-off series with them or not. And then I'm doing some, the novellas are on my own. I'm going wide with those. And my Spiritwood series, I'm going wide with that one. Right now, my bread and butter is Montlake. My self-published stuff is not making anything compared to them. I think at best now, my 2 novellas are bringing in maybe $400 a month. And the Montlake stuff is what's keeping me fed and allowing me to go to these conferences. The other actual big change that I heard at the conference that is direct opposite of what they were saying even 6 months ago is that a lot of the people that were really advocating translations are now saying no, that translations are a big money sink and time sink, and they're not recommending now that people do them.
Are they still saying to try to get into other markets, but just do them in English?
No, they're because really you can't get into the other markets so well. They're saying put your books everywhere, but you can't expect to sell very well in the other markets. But what they've discovered since the VAT tax went into effect is that the books just aren't selling that well in those other markets, and there's a tremendous amount of money that goes into good translations, but it's even more than that. Every country has their own copyright laws, and translations are considered copyright, for the translator. So you have to know basically contract law of every single language that you're translating into. And then they were running into the problem of number one is not knowing how to promote their translations in these other countries, not knowing where to find readers, how to find readers. They don't have the contacts with the other platforms, in the other countries, so they it seems like they're just really losing money on them. And now they're saying, don't do it unless you can afford to really lose money. I did hear one girl that's basically making her living on her translation, so I don't think it's across the board. There was one girl that's probably doing better on her translation. She has 17 out there than she is on her English books. But she seemed to be an anomaly, and most of them were saying that translations are they're a money pit. Now, my translations have been a gold mine, but I think it's because Amazon's constantly promoting them since they're through Amazon Crossing. I think if you don't have the distributors really, really pushing your translations, then you're not going to make your investment back very quickly.
Good advice. Who wants to go next? I'm sorry, I blanked.
Okay, so are you thinking of branching out from romance, or is this something that you're definitely able to make money in, so you will be staying in?
Oh, I think I can make good money in romance. I've got quite a fan base built now that seem to be, screaming for more books. I don't actually question that my income is going to go way up once I get more books out there. But I am kind of tempted to do just a straight thriller, just because I get tired sometimes of having to do the balance between the thriller and the romance. I'm actually better at the suspense action than I am at trying to balance the romance. So I'm very tempted.
Pardon?
I'm very tempted to do that, a straight thriller. I actually even had an idea for one that would make a killer thriller, but it's always trying to find the time. I have all these ideas, and I'm not even working on the ones I have,
Yeah.
How would you approach that genre? I guess if you're coming into deciding, like, if that was your new pen name and you were starting from square one,
a different pen name, I would use the same pen name. I would make sure that everybody knew that this is a straight thriller, in the branding and everything. It would be easy to set a straight thriller across, make it very clear in the blurb and the branding and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I would probably do it on my own either. I had my editor that I've been working with for the last 2 years just went to Thomas Mercer, and I would probably pitch it to her because I have, a personal relationship, and then if they're not interested in it, then I would try to self-publish it. But quite honestly, with the way that things are going right now, the Amazon promotional machine is just absolutely incredible, and I would probably go with that for, for anything. The self-published stuff that I'm trying to go wide with, I would have a better bet, I think, with romance than with a thriller to try to go wide.
So, when you're planning out your year this year, then have you decided to set yourself some goals? Then, because you're talking about everybody having more books, have you laid out some goals for yourself for this year?
I lay out goals every single year, and I never meet them any year. Well, so I don't really lay out goals anymore just because I don't meet the goals. But I do have release dates in mind. Like, I want this one book to come out in April. I want the next novella to come out this summer. I've been promising readers for 2 years that I would have Awaken out, and I finally actually put that up on pre-order on iTunes for coming out like the 1st of September. And then I've got another pre-order for that continuity series. Now, this continuity series that I've agreed to, my release date on that one is in, I think, October 18th or 19th. And it's a book that actually ties into my Bound By series. This continuity series is a basic theme all the authors use for writing the books, but each book ties into the author's own series to try to bring readers back to that series. So it'll tie into my Bound By, which is by far, and I mean by far, probably about 75% more lucrative than the Spirit Woods books have been to date. So that's kind of where my concentration is right now, is on the Bound By, which is related to my Red Hot Seals world. So there's a lot of transfer back and forth between those.
Any plans to go into any more conferences this year?
Oh yeah, I'm going to RT next month, and actually I guess it's in April. I've got way too many conferences. I'm going to NorwestCon in March, to RT in April, right on the river in May, RWA and WesterCon in July, and then RomCom, which is a romance-specific writers conference, is in like the end of, I think it's the end of August or the 1st of April. And then I'm going to the National Novel Association, to NINC, in October. So let's just say I overbooked on conferences by a lot.
Which ones do you recommend for romance authors that are just starting out? Which ones are
I think RWA National does a really good job. I mean, they've got hundreds of workshops and panels for every level. You know, they've got everything from beginners to advanced. It's expensive. Probably it's $500 just to go for the registration. And then you're looking at $2,000 to $3,000 for the hotel, depending on how long you stay and whether you have a roommate or not. I think it's probably closer to $2,000 plus the flight. So I mean, like New York was over $5,000 just for going to New York because of airfare and you know, the conference. The hotels are always at the Marriott, so you're looking at, you know, $250 to $300 a night just to stay there. So it's a good one to go to, but it is expensive. RT, on the other hand, is a lot cheaper. It's actually the same price to go. It's about $450 or $500. But the hotels tend to be a lot cheaper. Like the one that's being held in Vegas this year, and the hotel's only $100 a night, and food will be a lot cheaper because it's in Vegas. But it's more reader orientated. They do have workshops and panels and stuff for writers, but I don't think that there's enough maybe for a beginning writer to go there. And NINC, you really can't even go unless you've made $5,000 on 2 books. I mean, $5,000 a piece on 2 books within the last year. So you have to be pretty experienced selling author to even go to NINC.
Mm.
If you're a romance author and you're looking to get into some conferences, your best bet actually is to go to some of the local chapter conferences. Like the Greater Seattle chapter puts on the Emerald City Conference every year. So from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they have all sorts of workshops from beginning to advanced, and that's probably a good use of your money. They're usually a little cheaper, like around $200. There's almost always a conference that's somewhere close to where you live, so you can drive.
Yeah, I'd say airfare versus gas, especially gas prices coming down. That's a lot of money.
But yeah, when you're going to the other conferences, like NINC's in Florida, so there's the airfare to Florida. I will say that the Hawaii conference was hands down the best conference I've ever been to, just because it was so specific towards best-selling romance authors. They even had a Hollywood panel there where you were able to actually pitch your book. They had like the producer of all the Jason Bourne ones and Cider House Rules, and they had just a phenomenal panel of Hollywood experts, and then they did one-on-one and roundtable pitches with everyone.
Oh,
so
cool.
You pitched?
I didn't actually pitch my book, but I pitched a book that is in my family. It's actually my Aunt Aiko's life story, that she had written it before she died, and I pitched that because she was one of the top geisha girls in Japanese history. Went from being sold into a geisha house at 4 years of age to owning the geisha house at 20 or 25 or something like that. And every single one of them, their eyes just lit up when I told them what the story was about. but I don't own the rights to that. My cousin Iva does. So I emailed her and told him all these people are really interested in talking to her.
But she better give you a cut if they if they pick it up, right?
I'll tell you, they were beyond. I mean, the one gal was like, "Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps! I'm getting goosebumps!" And they all wanted her email address or phone number, and they all wanted to talk to her like now.
That's interesting.
But it's got like such cinema appeal, you know. I mean, yeah. And the one gal that let's see, she was the financier for movies. Like they financed everything from 5 million to 170 million. And she was like, and it's got the value of being written by an actual Japanese or Okinawan woman instead of a Southern white guy. Because I guess Memoirs of a Geisha was written by a white guy, and the women that have seen that have absolutely hated it because they said it was so, it was like a white man's fantasy or something. I don't know, but yeah, they all got really excited when I told them about it.
That's interesting. It does sound like a very cool conference, though. You had a lot of different things to.
Yeah, it was very cool, and it was really nice being able to actually talk to the distributors. And every single one of them gave me their card. Every single one of them said that when I was ready to actually have them start promoting it, I wanted to wait till I had at least 3 to 4 books up before I start doing anything. But they've all given me their cards and told me they'd be thrilled to start promoting it, as soon as I'm in a position to ask. So these guys are, these are nice guys. It's not like they're trying to shortcut everybody or, trying to rip everybody off. They really do want to work with indie authors.
Was there any talk about pricing there at all?
A little bit. Actually, everybody seems comfortable now with what they're pricing. Everybody there that has been doing this, they're selling well at what they're pricing. So they've all kind of got their pricing strategy in place now. What came up more is what people are using for advertising and what's effective. Free still seems to be by far the most effective for everyone, is putting the first book in the series for free. They're still all saying that it doesn't work nearly as well as it did before, but in the long run, that's more effective than doing a book pub or doing anything. Now, they combined those free first in the series with ads to try to get them more promotion. And most people, when they're doing Facebook or Twitter or whatnot, they're targeting their audience with that first free book to try to draw them in there, with free downloads, and then have them switch over to the rest of the series if they can hook them.
So some things don't change, even though they may not work as well. It's still the same thing that we've been talking about for quite a while.
Right, except that almost everyone now is using other ads to boost those downloads. Like they'll do their free book on BookBub, or they'll do a bunch of smaller ad campaigns for the free book, like all those little ones, eBook Soda and the Romance Reader and all those. They'll do those building up to the BookBub ad, and then do a big BookBub, trying to really boost the free book in the store and get people to transfer over. Most people say that only about 10% of the people are reading the free books. So you're losing 90% of the audience.
They're just downloading it and forgetting about it.
Yeah. But they've also said that like the people that are on iTunes and Nook and Kobo, they tend to actually read. It's the Amazon readers that tend to download and just hoard books, but the other distributor readers seem to actually read whatever they download. So their open rate on those other distributors is much higher than it is on their Amazon ones.
Yeah, I can see to that too. I tend to read a lot more of my since here in Canada we're using Kobo's majority anyways. Despite the fact that Kindle has the better market, and I'll still buy books from both because of the ease of ability just to pick up the Kobo. I don't have a Kindle, so I will read the stuff that's from the Kobo marketplace faster than the stuff from Kindle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and I think one thing that struck me when you said that, Trish, is the comparison you made with Amazon and Walmart earlier. At the Amazon reader, I mean, they might be readers, but they're also tend to be purchasers, right? They tend to be shoppers, and a lot of times shoppers buy and kind of stuff things away. It's that kind of that Costco mentality a little bit, where I think maybe your iTunes person is more looking to find books just to read versus other things.
So but keep in mind too, and this is something that never really came up, but I know it happens because it's happened to me, is that just because somebody doesn't open the book and read it within the first maybe month doesn't mean that they're not going to open the book and read it down the road. Because when I first self-published Forged in Fire, way before I sold the series to Montlake, when they started doing the free runs, and you would do, this was way back in the heyday where every free download counted as a full sale. So if you got 20 to 30,000 downloads, which is what we were averaging at the time, you would bump you to the very front of the paid store when you would go back to paid. So I did periodic free runs in Kindle Select, probably every 2 months I would do a 3 to 5 day free run for months. So I mean, I gave over 200,000 copies of that book away, and each time it would boost it to the very front of the store, and I'd make thousands and thousands of dollars. And only a certain percent of those readers would open it and read it. But after the book got sold to Montlake, I was still getting reviews that were referencing things that had been taken out of the Montlake edition. So this is like a year after the book had been turned over to Montlake, people were still reading the free version. So just because they don't read it right away doesn't mean that they're not going to read it down the road.
Okay.
And for what self-published titles are you in Select? I can't remember if you bought them.
I'm not anymore. My Montlake titles are all in Select, but I decided I wanted to go wide with the stuff that I'm self-publishing. So I was noticing the page reads, your money was going down every single month a little bit, but it was just going down, down, down. And I decided that I probably wouldn't lose that much money with the novellas, and they weren't selling that much anyway. So I pulled both novellas out about 3 months ago and put them wide. And I've noticed maybe a $30 difference between what I was making with them in Select versus what I'm making with them wide. And even though I'm getting hardly any sales wide, it covers the difference between what I'm getting versus sales and borrows. So I haven't really noticed any difference on my own books from pulling them out of Select, but I know that a lot of people have seen a massive difference when they were making a lot of money in Select. And keeping in mind that I haven't had a novella up for a year. So right now I'm making, I think, about $400 a month off of those two books on Amazon. So, and the other really interesting thing that is really, really weird is that, so I had both these books in Select, and then I pulled them from Select, and when I was in Select, the rank for my little novella, the Bound by novella, kind of stuck around 25,000, I think it was, between 20 and 30,000 maybe. And my little novella for Spirit Woods, it was somewhere between 75 and 80,000, I think, something like that. And the ranks just absolutely plummeted. I mean, they went from on the one from 25,000 to about 100, and then on the other one from 75,000 to 200,000. But the difference in money was so minimal that there's no way the ranks should have really dropped like that. I mean, I'm talking about maybe $10 a week difference in money, and yet the ranks went just plummeted like you wouldn't believe.
Okay, your borrows are heavier than we think.
It's the borrows that are just buoying the thing up,
Yeah, it's a lot of saturation, obviously, too.
Yeah. So I don't know. For me, it was a smart thing to do because my sales actually on iTunes and Barnes and Nobles are tripling every month. Now, granted, I didn't have much to start with, so I sold like one book on iTunes the first month. Well, I'm up to 5 this month. So I mean, they're going up. It's not really anything to brag about, but they are going up every month on all of them.
And like you say, it takes a lot of time, right? We were talking about earlier in the show.
It takes a year. And keeping in mind, I've only got one novella that's in the Bound by series there. And I've only got, Spirit Woods. So it's not like I have much inventory over there. And the more inventory you have, the better off you're going to do. But I put my little Bound by, the next in the Bound by one, which isn't coming out till October, and it's already got several pre-orders on it. So the people that are buying the first Bound by are turning around and pre-ordering that one, and it's not even out until October. So that tells me that there's readers over there. I just need to get more product up so that also bots are engaged and word of mouth spreads.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good sign, though. At least you're getting nibbles.
You're getting nibbles, and I like the fact that you said all the reps were friendly and willing to. I mean, obviously you're talking to some big authors over there, so they're thinking money. May not be so much for a little piddly author, but still, at least they weren't like trying to snub and screw people. So
quite honestly, I think kind of what I had to my advantage too is that they look up your before you even sit down with these reps. They've looked up your website and they've looked up your book page on Amazon, and they saw my books with all these hundreds and hundreds of reviews. Like, for example, Forged in Fire has maybe close to 1,300 reviews now, and I think that the other ones just hit over 500. And it's got a pretty high star rating, like a 4.4 average, I think. And that was one thing they all mentioned was the fact that my books were being well received on Amazon enough that people were really reviewing them. And I think that is social proof to them that even though I don't have much of a fan base on theirs yet, that the fans would come if I put more up. So I think that really helped too with the interest they were showing. But honestly, I think the other part of that is that I've been an Amazon exclusive author, and I kind of think they like the idea of Amazon exclusive authors coming over and then doing well on their platforms so they can kind of give the finger to Amazon. I don't know. But yeah, they seem very interested in the fact that I hadn't done anything wide at all before.
Yeah.
We have an urgent question from Carl Sinclair, folks.
Okay.
I'll quote him because I don't really understand the question too much. I've seen and heard a lot of people talking about the page reads being where people are cleaning up after free promos, especially after BookBub. Has Trish seen this? Okay, so yeah, after a free promo with a BookBub, are you seeing correlating page reads?
I haven't done any free promos, so I can't answer to that. I will say that there was a lot of talk about this at the conference, and it has been very mixed. Some people are seeing a lot of page reads, and some people are seeing hardly anything. So there's people that are putting advertisement into these free reads, and they're not getting a return on their investment. And then there's other people that are doing the advertisements on the free reads, and they're cleaning up on the page reads. So I think it depends on the author, and I think it depends on the book.
Just depends.
Hear that, Carl? It depends.
It depends. Well, does anybody have any other questions that we didn't get answered, or anything from the site that I missed?
What's your favorite color, Trish?
My favorite color?
Yeah, we got 1 minute. Great.
That would be purple, which I discovered at the conference because I started looking at my wardrobe and there was so much in purple.
That you realized it?
Go to some other colors here.
I did it. I filled a minute.
You did fill a minute. Way to go, X. Way to go.
See that?
You're a professional.
That's talent, and yeah, very professional, very professional. I don't know where I come up with these questions, you know.
Well, Trish, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. It was good to talk to you again.
Oh, it's nice being on.
And maybe we'll run into you through your travels around the Northwest. At least, well, me, I should say, not they, but hopefully with one of these days.
Probably only, actually, WesterCon, which is the big science fiction fantasy conference, is going to be down in Portland in July, like the 1st of July.
Hello.
I'm going to be down there. We're going to have a booth, so I'm going to be down there with a bunch of science fiction fantasy author friends and working the booth.
All right. That's July 1st?
It's, I think, July 1st. It's the first part of July.
Okay. I'll put it on the calendar. Yeah. Come down and see you. Yeah. All right. Well, I want to remind everybody that as you're listening to iTunes, maybe you're listening to this show right here, leave us a review. Also, check out selfpublishingroundtable.com because, Erica's a rock star and putting up lots of good content, and I got a blog post coming up here next week, and yeah, so all that good stuff, right? I think we even got some book reviews coming up and stuff. So anyway, check out our website, and we appreciate all our live listeners coming in and doing some questions, like Carl and everybody else. So hopefully you guys will tune in again next week. Trying to think, did I miss anything, Erica? Any announcements I need to make? I'm 2 weeks off. I'm a little rusty, so.
Don't forget to join us on our Sunday Blab show at 5 p.m.
Sunday Blab show, 5 p.m. That's right. Eastern.
We'll be joined by Stephen Campbell this week, I believe.
And I won't be there. Yeah.
She has an appointment, so she says. With Jesus.
I won't be there till after March, but after next month, then I'll start joining on some blabs too. So, all right. Well, again, thanks, Trish, and thank you everybody else. And Xavier, I think you might have something to say, maybe.
Yes. Good night, internets.